guys, my name is Gloria and welcome back to my channel. Today I want to start a little series that marries my love of books with my love of movies, and it's going to be called The Book Wasn't Better. I think as book lovers we love to say the book was better, but sometimes that's just not true. And there's definitely been times where I've watched a movie and I've wanted to read the book and I've been severely disappointed by the book. So I have some opinions on these things. All of these are just subjective opinions. If you love this book, absolutely fine, you can tell me why I'm wrong in the comments, but I had issues with this book and so far I haven't seen anyone else really pointing them out, so I just wanted to give my 2 cents on it because there were bits that did irritate me a lot. So today I'm going to be talking about The Ritual by Adam Nevill. Let's start off with the movie because the movie was what I saw first of this story. The movie stars some great actors in it. That's one of the reasons I liked it so much. Luke is played by Rafe Spall, which you might know from, I think he was in The Life of Pi. I haven't seen that one, but he was also in Hot Fuzz as one of the Andys. Hutch is played by Rob James Collier. I have a feeling he was in Emmerdale or something, but I don't watch it, so I have no idea. Phil was played by Arshur Ali. Hope I said that right. Don't think I've seen him before. Dom, played by Sam Troughton. I've seen him somewhere, but I don't know where. And your token Irish lad, Robert, was played by Paul Reed. He doesn't actually exist in the book. But the story of The Ritual for the movie starts off with 5 lads having a drink in a pub, trying to figure out where they want to go on their lads' holiday. A lot of ideas are thrown out, but they can't decide. And the Irish guy suggests going hiking in Sweden, and they all push this away because they're not fit or interested, and they don't decide where to go. On the way out, Luke wants to go into the off-licence to buy some more alcohol. The rest say no. But the Irish guy, Robert, says that he'll go into the off-licence with him. While they're in there, there's a robbery taking place. While Luke decides to hide, Robert is caught by these men. Luke watches as he's struck in the head and killed, sadly, and Luke didn't try to help him. So after this, the guys go to Sweden on their hiking trip in memory of their friend Robert and to grieve for their friend. And the whole time Luke is trying to come to terms with the fact that he didn't help him. He feels a lot of guilt and a lot of shame for this. The other guys in the group also feel like Luke is guilty in some way, but they're not talking about it. There's a lot of tension there. And while they're in Sweden, they decide to take a shortcut through the woods to shorten the trip, or so they think. And they become stuck in the woods. Bad things start to happen. They're not alone. And you can see where it kind of goes. I will be doing some spoilers today for The Ritual, for the movie and the book. I'm going to be talking about everything I liked and disliked. The book differs in that the Irish guy didn't exist. The book starts completely when they're just about to take their shortcut. They decide to take a shortcut because the guys Dom and Phil are unfit and they've injured themselves already. Hutch and Luke want to cut it short because they just don't want to deal with them anymore. And then bad things start to happen. They're not alone. The same as the movie. In the movie they start to get picked off one by one. They come to a little hut that has strange symbols in it. They all have nightmares. They're picked off until Luke is the only one left, and he finds Luke and Dom actually, and they find a small village, and they seem to like Luke a lot more than Dom. They're treating him better. They discover that these people have a weird religion, that they're in line with the monster in the woods. These people try and sacrifice them to the monster, and Luke fights them off and eventually escapes the monster, killing everyone in the village and sort of ending the people who are worshipping the monster. In the book it's almost the same. Except when Luke gets to the village, it's only Luke, it's not Dom and Luke, and he's taken in by 3 death metal, black metal heads teenagers from Finland, I think, and they want to sacrifice him because it's hardcore, and there's only one old woman in the village who can call the monster, and Luke has to fight those off instead. I have issues. Biggest difference between the book and the movie for me was that the movie brought in the character of Robert, the Irish guy, who obviously gets killed first. Racist. But him being brought into the story completely changed it for me. One of the reasons that I really didn't like the book from the outset, I mean, I like Adam Neville's writing. I think he set up the actual setting really well. I think he described the characters really well. But these guys were miserable for no reason. From minute one, I was just following a bunch of miserable people who hated each other into a miserable forest for no reason. I just hated it. I was so sick of them by the end of the book. The beginning of the movie sets these guys up as friends. It sets them up as lifelong friends. The implementation of Robert and his death, and Luke trying to deal with his death, being that he didn't even help him. First of all, it gives a reason for them to go hiking. In the book, there's literally no reason for them to go hiking whatsoever. They claim that it's partly because Luke can't afford hotels that they decide to go camping, but you can camp without hiking into mountains in the middle of nowhere where you need to actually be physically fit to do it. But the movie sets up a reason for them to actually go hiking, even though they're not all into it. It was only their friend who died who was into it. In both the movie and the book, there is a divide between Luke and the other characters. And in the movie, it's because Luke was there when their friend died and he didn't help him, and he's racked with guilt, racked with shame that he didn't try and help. In the book, it seems to just be because Luke is single and he doesn't have any kids and he's not making as much money as the rest of them. I was sort of interested in the friendship dynamics in the book, in that you can be friends with people for a very long time and then later on discovered that maybe you were just friends with each other because you live together. Maybe you don't actually have a lot in common. That was sort of interesting, but the book just, because they were so miserable and whiny the whole time, it just seemed a lot like Luke's character was bemoaning the fact that other people thought he should be married and other people thought he should have kids when he didn't want that in the first place. And the other characters just seemed to hate him for no real reason. I felt so bad for Hutch in both of them because he was trying to be the leader, he was trying to be the guy bringing everyone together and keeping them all going, and they were all just such miserable bastards about it. I hated them so much. But in the actual movie, there's a reason for them to be angry at each other. There's a reason for them to begrudge each other, and it was a painful reason as well. And the book just didn't have that. It was just the most miserable book I've ever read. So the movie had better motivations, better relationships between the characters, but it was mainly the ending that really got me. I liked the entire movie of The Ritual. I thought it went really well. They show the monster at the end, which normally is a disaster for movies, but this, as bizarre as the monster is, I think it worked really well. It was really weird looking. It sort of is the type of thing I would imagine coming from a weird Swedish pagan religion. I just don't get the metalheads. So they mention a couple of people in the book, I'm not sure what their names are, but there were some, I think they were Finnish musicians in the 90s who were into death metal, who were in death metal bands, and they separately ended up murdering people just because they're not great people, but people blamed it on the music they were listening to and the music they were making. There have been instances where death metal people have talked about burning down churches and stuff. So when Luke meets the teenagers at the end of this book, they're just really annoying. Like, they're not villains to me, they're not bad guys, they're just really irritating teenagers. Of course, the girl with massive tits is naked the whole time because why not? You know, it's freezing and wet and horrible, but of course, naked, that makes sense. But they're just really annoying. They're caricatured. They're like, oh, you don't listen to metal? It's like, fuck off. I wasn't afraid of them in the slightest. Like, sure, they're violent, but he's just been dealing with a supernatural beast that can get inside their heads. These guys aren't scary at all. And I just don't get why there were 3 teenage metalheads. What? I was so confused when I read the book. I was like, does Neville just hate metal music? I don't understand. I'm so glad they changed it for the movie. Them being there, it detracted a lot from the story. The story was already miserable. They were already dealing with this monster in the woods. I don't know if Neville was trying to use them, because the whole way through the book, Luke is saying that he's always tried to do his own thing and always tried to stay sort of left of what society wants him to do. So I don't know if he was using them as like the polar end of not being within society and doing things that society doesn't want you to do by being metalhead murdering weird people. But it just didn't work for me. It was weird, it was left field, and it took a lot away from the monster and a lot away from the actual creep and dread and weirdness of the story, and it just didn't work. It didn't work for me whatsoever. Whereas the movie made sense. There was a whole village of people that lived there because of this monster and survived there because of this monster. And so for me, the movie was an A+. I've watched it multiple times. I would definitely watch it again. The book, I had the book and I read it and immediately gave it away. I had to get a library version to reread it so that I could really give my opinions on it for this video. It also, this is just a tiny editing pet peeve thing, but it also has one of the worst lines that I've ever read. Yeah, I actually found it. It has a line that just irks me. You know when you come across a line and you're like, why was this not changed? On 135 it says, Hutch never spoke for a while. Never spoke for a while? Like, that just, I remember that annoying me the first time, and it annoyed me the second time, and it's gonna annoy me till the end of time. But yeah, that was just a tiny little pet peeve. I didn't like the characters. It was just miserable from the outset. They all hated each other. They were all horrible to each other. I don't know why, like, 4 unhealthy guys, smokers, guys who haven't exercised in years other than Hutch. Also, the magical fucking cigarettes. Every 2 or 3 pages, Luke is smoking a cigarette, and I'm like, did he have 80 packs with him? Like, they haven't mentioned that he's running out of cigarettes or anything, but he's smoking them all the time. Anyway, watch the movie The Ritual. You can check out the book if you want to. I'm not finished with Adam Neville. I'll definitely be reading some of his stuff in the future because he is a good writer. I just think he made some mistakes in the elements of this story that I just didn't like at all. I'm so glad to get all of that off my chest. I feel like Mugatu from Zoolander. Everyone's been talking about how great this book is, and I feel like I'm taking crazy pills. I have a few other books and movies that I need to rewatch and reread to put into the series, but I will have some other books in the future for the Book Wasn't Better series. If you like any of my other videos, check them out, and like and subscribe if you like what I'm doing here. I shall see you in the next video.